Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. We have a special guest from the East Coast, Massachusetts. He was doing the 9-to-5 as an engineer for the longest time, and then the comfortableness of that, but just wanting something more, and started finding himself into real estate, jumped into the agent side like a lot of us do, and got his feet wet with that. But then within just 3 years, was able to pick up several multifamily deals, do several fix and flips as well, build out a strong team. And what's cool now is the creative strategies that he's utilized along the way, but also, which I'm a big fan of, obviously, utilizing credit and so forth, but also has 25 plus doors at this point when it comes down to the BRRRR strategy, which can obviously turn into some awesome passive income and mailbox money to be able to start building up that generational wealth. So very excited to have you on today, Dom. How are you, man?
Hey, Brandon. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Nice. I appreciate you for jumping on. So for anybody out there that doesn't know exactly who you are, more about your story, can you just give the viewers or listeners just more in detail about your story, your situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 28 years old. I'm in the Western Massachusetts area, was a degreed pipeline engineer for a large Fortune 500 company for 7 years, was just about to put in my notice, and then COVID-19 hit. So had a little bonus working from home and kind of living, the double life over the last year. But basically over the last 3 years, I decided that wasn't for me and I wanted to chase some other dreams. So got my real estate license, started doing transactional work, picked up my first duplex, which I'm actually filming from today because I love living for free. And now have a great business partner, Luke Justo, who we started 2 companies, Naples Realty Group, which is our brokerage, been formed for under a year and just hit 15 agents actually today and still scaling. And then Naples Home Buyers, which is our fix and flip company, where we focus on flipping properties, utilizing the BRRRR strategy to build a passive portfolio, and then also do buy and holds. Biggest thing that, I want to give back to everyone with, just, listen to podcasts for years to make that big jump, is showing how to take action, sharing some creative ways that I was able to scale quickly by using other people's money or seller financing, and then putting a big, distinction on net profit per door and how that's more important than unit count. I can share some financials later just because I'm the finance guy basically. And that's pretty much all I do is look at that stuff and can really share to people how less is more and how that allows you to scale. So that's my story, and, just happy to have a great conversation about it.
Yeah, man. No, I love it. I appreciate it. That's definitely the 30,000 foot view. You touched on so many different moving pieces. I love how you talked about basically the action part, the action driven. You must have read the book. And I think it's really powerful because at the end of the day, it's like you got to take action on one of these things. And obviously you found your passion within real estate. So the BRRRR strategy, we do that as well. We love it. What gravitated you towards real estate in the first place? Or, one of these strategies that you actually decided to pick? Because, you could have jumped into mobile home parks, or flipping land, so why the strategies that you've picked?
Yeah. So honestly, at first didn't ever really expect to be here. Got a real estate license to start making some money on the side, had a family member with a small brokerage. So, figured I could help friends and family make some money and pay off my student loans was, the first thing. And running around and kind of, showing multifamilies got me thinking, hey, I could, figured out I could get into one for 3.5% down, live for free, started crunching some numbers. So really had no intention of being like a quote investor. It was more of just, hey, I don't want to be check to check and strapped if I get into this, big single family by myself and that. So that's what kind of led the R&D phase, where then I started listening to bigger podcasts, all these other podcasts, reading every single book. And then I found myself in the classic analysis paralysis, basically, because at heart, I am a nerd. So, the spreadsheets were literally holding me back. I was walking on deals because it wasn't lighting up green over like, 0.1 on a cap rate, which really doesn't mean much on a 2-family anyways. So that sidelined me for years, or probably like 2 years. And then once I just dove in and met the right people and had some, motivation, it was just off to the races.
That's such a great talking point right there by itself, just for the simple fact of how many people do you probably run into on a daily basis, just like myself, that they want to get started into real estate, but they might be just over complicating it themselves and prolonging the process, and just, years are going by. So what was that trajectory? Like, what was that changing pivotal point that helped you either get the confidence or the boldness, or just like the, hey, I don't care, I'm just going to move forward with this instead of looking at these damn spreadsheets every day?
Honestly, I don't know if it was like one point. It just kind of got to the point where, I was looking at deals, walking on deals, watching other people, grab the deal, be successful with them. And then I really had to think, I'm at the time super conservative, always, erring on the side of caution. And actually, my business partner I could definitely attribute a lot of my new risk tolerance to him, because he's the guy who's like, let's just buy it and figure it out. And then I'm like, let's just figure out and buy it. So I think the truth is definitely somewhere in the middle, but just, investing, obviously it's never 100% sure. So once I kind of got over that and realized, I have like the liquidity to weather a storm kind of thing, especially on the first one. I mean, you don't have too much risk when you're putting little money down and, that sort of scenario. So wasn't like a huge catalyst or a huge event that did it. It was just kind of a compounding effect of missing out on deals, running numbers, and really having some FOMO, I guess, of getting involved.
Yeah, that's so good. I know for me personally, I was studying for 2 years and I was submitting offers the whole time, but I was going against real investors with all cash, no contingencies, and I couldn't keep up with trying to get FHA financing out here in San Diego. It's just, it's never going to happen. I'm that guy now that I go $50,000 hard, closing 5 days and no contingencies, all cash. So I already know it's just a different market, but I got to the point I was like fed up. 2 years went by. We submitted 35 plus offers, kept on getting rejected. And I was just like, and I was assuming one day I'm going to fail or mess up in real estate, but I need the learning curve. I need to get started. So I was just like, I'm going to start submitting on offers that don't even make sense, which it got crazy, but I just got aggressive with it, right? I was fed up. So I started looking in other states. But for you, it's always been in your backyard, correct, of Western Mass?
Yeah, everything we're focused on now is within probably 1 hour of home. And it's, for no reason other than our resources are here. We know the market. We're confident. Everyone says there's a shortage of deals, but we feel, once you figure out the marketing, there's actually a surplus of deals. And, we go back and forth from being, is money the problem or deals the problem? We'll find a bunch of money and then we'll have too many deals. And it's a great problem to have in either direction. I mean, before we thought it was impossible to raise money. And then once we kind of figured that element out and met the right resources, we're able to not worry about that piece and really just focus on the deals. So we know that's the whole game. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, like, especially during these crazy times that we're in the last year or so, I feel like there's so many other people that are stepping out because they're scared or the market or all this other, thing. So I feel like there's almost more and more deals now, even though there's such a little inventory, they say.
Yeah, more motivation, I would say. Definitely.
Yeah. So when it comes down to these initial first projects, do you mind just diving into the numbers, what it looked like, time frame, all that fun stuff? And did you have a partner at that time, or was it just you getting started?
The first 3 I did on my own, and then everything else since has been with a partner. And that's like one key thing I wanted to say too, for people that are trying to do it themselves, like looking at the volume of stuff we have going on now would be pretty impossible to do on, your own. And basically my like synergy with my partner, Luke, is basically, he's running like the rehab side, dealing with the contractors, had a lot of existing relationships since he was in real estate longer than I was. And then what I bring to the table is, strong financial background, running the back end of the business, lead generation, advertising, that sort of stuff. And those are really the left hand and the right hand to the business. And you really need both done correctly to, keep making money and keep growing. So the first one was definitely the hardest. That was, sidelines to, starting match, I guess. That was probably a 1.5 year process. And I was an agent at the time, so representing myself on MLS, and, pretty much was just getting outbid because I was being like unrealistically conservative, coming in a market where, maybe you get $5,000 off and trying to get 50 because of, whatever thing. So once I figured out that wasn't the way, especially armed, locked and loaded with an FHA loan, which is hard enough to close, started just really networking with other agents, being creative and looking on Craigslist every day, looking on Facebook, messaging people, like being very aggressive on public record, and pretty much was doing that while I was working full time as my job, at the 9 to 5. So pretty much was just doing that all day. First deal though, just to jump into it, owner occupied duplex, purchase price $230, built in the 1980s. So didn't really need much besides minor, just cosmetics. And then the unit I was moving into made it, something that I wanted to be long-term. So blew out some walls, granite, the whole nine. But mortgage on that I think was around $1,600 all in. One unit rented for $1,350 at the time in 2018. Market rent now is about $1,550 to $1,600. Like I said, I'm still in the other unit as we speak. So, there would be a net profit of, $1,150 to $1,200 at those margins if I were to move out right now, and making it like extremely strong triple digit ROI based on, the $8,500 it costs to get the deal. Yeah. So you just can't beat that. There's no stock. I always tell people you can put $8,000 on and make $1,200 a month on and then get appreciation. So actually today, a duplex down the road just got listed for $350. So bought this at $230. We'll say the total basis is $250. So there's, $100K of gain, and, on the debt, there's, $120K of equity as we sit now. So that's kind of what got me thinking too, those margins compared to the classic, $150 or $200 a door. It's like you can own 10 to 12 high touch properties 15 minutes from here, and I net more on one duplex. And that's like basically what started our model, on the BRRRR and getting, higher end tenants and rents, because on the admin side, management side, which no one really likes talking about, that's where you really save too.
Oh yeah. So is that what you're doing? You're doing self-management?
So no self-management anymore. We've actually, as of August 1st, we moved our portfolio to a third party. Basically, our value add is buying always distressed, either with the rents and or condition, stabilizing, adding value, refinancing. Obviously, that's BRRRR. And then at that point, rolling it over to, property manager at a discounted rate, because it's essentially, rent collection and accounting is what we're looking to not deal with. CapEx and maintenance is almost zero if you get through the first month, like, it's either day one if something didn't get like tied out, at the final walkthrough, and like, we got to go like repair something. But normally after 1 month of the BRRRR, live in, then we haven't, knock on wood, heard like anything in a year. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, and it's normally like that, especially, when it comes down to how big a remodel you're doing. If it gets very intensive, then you're making this thing brand new, everything's getting touched.
Yeah, which we definitely prefer to do. I mean, we're even kind of like sometimes now not even just looking at the spreadsheet, and we're just looking at stuff like, we're here, permits are open, let's just do everything and just close it out and hold it for a decade. And it's like, you might shave a few percentage off long term, but we're just looking at it, get it done once, bake it in, fully depreciate, tie out, the accounting side, move it to a new entity, done. So that's kind of what we're doing.
I love it. So let's talk about some learning curves for a second. And then I do want to cover what you guys are looking for within your projects. Is there anything in particular that makes it a deal breaker, or something that, you're really shooting for to make it work?
As far as a deal breaker, that's a tough one to answer, just because, it is like a numbers game, but we're really looking for, bigger, very distressed properties that we can add tremendous value to, just because on our experience of doing stuff where it's like a light value add, you're typically paying a little more, and then it's harder to hit that LTV and get a lot of your money out. So, our most successful BRRRR so far was like bought, condemned, fire damage, homeless people, breaking in, living in there, like literally no utilities, like 1 foot of water in the basement. And that one you could write the BRRRR book on, because our margins don't even make any sense. They're just that good. And, after doing that compared to some like stuff where we're going and paint and sand and like put granite in it, especially with the appraisers and the banks like tightening up right now, it's hard to make that case that you really added value, even though you did when you look at income approach and obviously, net income that you're getting. But, you have to kind of know that depending on the bank and stuff, they're going to be looking at comps.
Yeah. Before you dive into learning curves, have you had any issues with appraisals in the past with your BRRRR properties? I personally have with like properties over in Ohio.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing I would say we're pretty good at and we've been really militant with is like making sure like that's going to happen. I would say like we had to fish for some new relationships at first based on, banks wanting you to hold the property, on private money longer than needed because they have seasoning requirements. So that's one thing that's pure relationship based. And we were able to kind of pierce that by building a very reputable, brand and I guess networking and leveraging our, splash in the marketplace so far and finding a partner that wanted to be affiliated with us. So yeah, those parts, especially when COVID hit, I mean, we're buying stuff before COVID hit thinking we can get an 80% on a refi and then they want to do 70. So like that can, really impact stuff. But to answer your question, we've been pretty lucky. And the only time we've had one appraisal come in low, we're doing 2 refis at once and the other came in so high that like the net kind of like, we got more out of one than we wanted and less out of one. So globally, cash flow and cash pulled out of the deal was like a break even. So, fortunate there. And that really wasn't too much of a surprise that specific deal. We just literally bought something turnkey cash and then turned around and, just tried to get all our money out basically, which we ended up doing.
Yeah. I've had one in particular that I bought it for $20,000, a triplex over in Ohio, beat up, really, really messed up, had old drug related stuff. There was like shotgun shells and holes in the side of the house. So really crazy stuff. But we did a full renovation on it. The only thing we didn't change was the roof. And we got it appraised like 6 months later. And it was just a horrible appraisal. And they increased it to $40,000. I don't even know, just because they saw it was, $20,000 originally for the purchase. And like we were showing them comps and everything, but we finally got another appraisal done right afterwards, a couple months later with a different bank, and it came back at 135. So
right.
Those were the numbers that we were looking for, So it was just one of those crazy things of having, if you get 10 different appraisals, you could potentially get like 10 different numbers because it's all just somebody's opinion. It should be related to the data behind it. But I know other friends of mine that have been screwed over. Depends on the market, I guess, as well.
Yeah. I mean, coming back at 40 versus 130, it's like, that's way off. But I mean, I normally we kind of go into it knowing, hey, I mean, it could be plus or minus 10% in either direction, depending on, how this individual woke up feeling and what the weather's looking like and what day it is. But, our philosophy too, with the burring, I mean, at the end of the day, even if, we have 5 or 10% stuck in it, which luckily we really haven't had that happen a lot, you're 5 or 10% down in a fully ran through property, market rents are there, no CapEx, no maintenance. So it's like, you can't be too mad at that because your return is still outrageous. And long-term, you have like a solid asset. And, for us, just like the value of being able to put our own tenants in and stuff is game changing. And, in our market, what we're doing right now, our average net profit per door is between $500 and $650. So $500 to $650 net per door, which is like double or triple basically like what most of the books say. And our tenants, are either 6-figure earners or, between roommates of that income level. So, credits are great. Income is great. Properties are great. These are places that, are nicer than where I live sometimes after we go through them. And for us, that's kind of a less is more mentality. And how we came up with that actually was like, in the earlier days of taking action, when I hadn't even done anything, I was hitting up all the landlords and property managers in the area asking to just work for free. And I was lucky enough to be invited into someone's business that had, I think, 200 units at the time, self-managed, and essentially first came in and said, hey, like, my engineering role is safety, efficiency, compliance, and finance. Like I build systems, I look at money, and I'm a project manager. So like kind of got it all down. I can like audit your operation and see if we can streamline anything or whatever. And long story short, looking at this individual's portfolio, there was half that I would consider low touch, BRRRR-ish type performing properties that every month just delivered money, 1 to 2 work orders a month across the 100 units. And then in a different zip code within 15 minutes away, 10 work orders coming in a day, rent collections are at 70%, vacancies at 15 to 20, like literally not pro forma, so it's like break even over 80, there.
20 rule of like, hey, the shit ones are over here. Like, let's get rid of those.
Yeah. That was eye-opening, because those are the deals that are getting tossed around. Pro forma looks good,
Sure.
And that's where I really learned it's like less is more. And just looking at those 2 portfolios, 100 stabilized low touch properties at like a 6 to 8 cap are blowing the doors off pro forma on, 10 to 14 caps that are high touch and, not in court, barely, went from needing just self-managing while having a full-time job to doubling the portfolio with the higher touch stuff and needing like 2 full-time people, essentially sucking the entire profit away. And, looking at that operation, it's like you're maintaining this thing that can only bring you down. So that's kind of where I totally refocused and said, it's not even that much about the spreadsheet at the end of the day. Like, just take a look around at the neighborhood, the property. It's like almost simple, and it's like, now it's funny. I used to have these spreadsheets. I was ready to patent them. They're incredible, but they're useless. Like now I'm looking at deals. I'm using this, I'm like 2 seconds, boom, 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 like that. That's exactly what we want. And it's kind of funny. I never thought I would have went that route, but here we are.
That's awesome, man. I think that is a key point. Like, I know so many people that overcomplicate it when they don't even have it in contract yet. I'm like, dude, do not spend more than like 15, 20 minutes on this deal of your due diligence in the beginning until you lock it up in contract,
Right.
Because you're going to submit, especially in a hot market and you're brand new. You don't have the credibility yet. You don't have like the negotiating power, like all these different things. So lock it up in contract, have a couple contingencies in there, get your foot in the door. Once you're in there, then go ham, like spend all the time you want, get the contractors, the bids, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's good. I love it. I think you dropped like one of the most probably important, like the special sauce, right? When you mentioned the simple fact of like, you realize you're brand new, you didn't have the confidence or you didn't have the skills yet. You wanted to get more hands-on. So you found people within your area that had all the doors, like that had more than enough so you can jump in and obviously you could help them out, which is great. I should probably, pay you to get into my business for a second and see what you can engineer out with that. But honestly, besides that, like just getting that experience and the know-how of like, hey, this is what I'll take from this individual of knowledge of what they're doing right. And then there's a couple things that they're definitely doing wrong that I'm going to do differently, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Is that what you would recommend for other people out there getting started?
No, definitely. And you got to think outside the box, right? Because like at the time when I'm 23, 24 years old, I mean, these people are multimillionaires. They're busy. They're running businesses. Like they don't care at the end of the day. So like my thing is like, how do I provide like tremendous value to this person for as little time as possible? My pitch was just like, give me a username, give me the permissions that you want in here. Let me go in and just let me present you something, just let me do something. And, you can figure out quick, like, in your market, like what are people using? What are they doing? All that stuff. And just figure out how to provide value. Like a lot of these people, unless they're very established and they want a mentor and they want to give back, they'll meet you for coffee here or there, a drink or whatever it is. But like I found quickly, like that wasn't being effective. So I kind of had to just like cut to the chase and just say, hey, like, here's what I'm at. I'm not just like some like kid trying to do this. Like I'm a degreed professional. I have real skill sets. Like I'm on a high 6-figure salary in my early 20s. Like, I can provide value to your business somehow. Just talk to me. And like being a little more blunt, squeaky wheel gets the oil, like especially now that real estate became so bougie in the past like couple of years, everyone wants to do it. It's like you got to stand out and you got to be direct and you just got to be quick. Like none of these people, especially if they're really successful, even have time to like text or call you. And that's just, I'm finding myself now, like, I don't even want to look at my phone based on like the 15 minutes here, what's going on. And, I'm not even a player. So it's, just to put in scale, that's how it is right now.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's that personality type that you're basically describing, like cut to the chase, get straight to it. And even though you were like raised on the analytical side or like the spreadsheets and everything, you came into the game like that. Like you mentioned, you quickly almost are transitioning into more of like, pen and paper really quick, analyze a deal and keep it moving. And a lot of these guys that, basically for any new person out there that wants to take this approach, and I do highly recommend it. It was very successful for Dom for adding value first, getting into somebody's business and really helping them out and learning along the way, is cut to the chase, get straight to the point, because that whole taking people out to coffee, for the right person, it might work. I don't discount it, but everybody's so busy nowadays in everyday life, not just real estate, but whatever it may be. And the simple fact is, if they do have successful businesses, they're probably overwhelmed and have other things going on because it isn't necessarily systemized properly. So if you want to get in there, help and add value, but cut to the chase and bring that value and don't take as much time from that individual as possible. I think that's great.
Yeah. Some other ideas too, just because that was something that was really hard for me. And it's not like you do it in a day. You don't just like go on Facebook and message someone and whatever. Like if you're a real estate, no,
don't do that. Please don't.
Yeah. But I mean, thinking just even like little stuff, right? Like the little details, like in my business and life, are the most painstaking now, like getting little things done. So figuring out a way, like if you're a real estate agent, like a licensed real estate agent, you just want to get into investing and there's some players or whatever. I mean, you have to like invest either time or money. I mean, I remember hitting people up saying, I'll list your property for free when you have a flip or something, and I'll pay you. Like, what's it going to take? Yeah. Just give me one. And all I want in return is just like, help me out. Tell me what to do, steer me in the right direction. Like, I would be hard pressed right now if someone approached me saying, hey, I'll pay you $500 to list your flip, that I wouldn't do it. Like, I mean, how do you ignore that, and we're all hustlers and a lot of these guys are grinders and hustlers. So like they actually, like, if you're too coy, they're not going to take you seriously. And, being a little bit direct and to the point and adding value will get their attention and maybe cultivate a relationship in the early stages. So definitely that's what I did. I was super creative and did a bunch of random stuff for people. And all it took was one. And then once you're buddies with one, it's just like, it opens up the doors, then you get a referral, then you meet someone, then you can drop someone's name, say, I actually work for this person. And then all of a sudden you're validated overnight and you didn't even do anything.
Those are so good tips. I love that. For anybody out there listening, you definitely want to rewind this for a second and play that back, because that will definitely help anybody just getting started. If you feel lost, confused, you don't have enough resources, or you just don't know what to do next, that's what you do. And that will literally make that pivotal change that you need to get the ball moving, right? So that will help out tremendously. I love it. So I know we just went down like a rabbit hole of question after question, but I do want to go back to learning curves. Anything that you personally have like gone through in the beginning or struggled with that you come out on top on, or that you realize at this point, like, hey, I'm not going to make that mistake again?
So I've been fortunate to not have like any like monster mistakes or anything, but learning curve wise, spent a lot of money and time and, that sort of stuff just in the wrong way, marketing wise and like that sort of thing. And, I was under the impression, like at first you could just kind of strike a pen and write a check and like, you'll get leads or you do whatever. And like, for example, like if you came into my market right now and you're like, all right, I want to find some motivated sellers, and you just like pull a list from any of the list source and blast out some mailers, like you're not getting a call. Maybe you get one call, and that to me was like kind of mind boggling at first. Cause like we're running ads, we're like spending thousands and this and that, and it didn't really mean anything. And what we connected was like the power of building a brand first validates that mailer, validates that ad, validates that conversation. So when COVID hit, we pretty much just went all in. Like I was at a point where I was like, this isn't moving fast enough. We just started, like our partnership had, I think 3 flips under our belt. And I was like, we both decided like everyone's running away. They're scared. They don't know what's going to happen. This COVID thing just came out of nowhere. And we decided to just 10X every single thing. And we figured, if the COVID thing turns out to be true, we have bigger problems than losing a lot of money because we're like in this Hollywood scenario, or, we're going to figure it out and, politics and all that stuff aside, things are going to level out. So my partner and I, that's like when we really just decided to figure it out and just invest like all of our money. And then now it's just kind of been the Wild West with, we built a brand so quick. People are approaching us. Our agent roster is growing like weekly. Deals are just getting brought to us. Like, it's like, we were cracking up this morning. Like, maybe we just stop marketing and just see like how many deals people bring us if we just keep going to events and, doing certain like brand awareness stuff, which obviously is not what we're going to do, but thinking a little different because everyone's doing it now. And it's like every single seller appointment we're at, there's 10 other people we're competing with. So it's like, how do you actually beat them?
Yep.
And it's not always just money. There's the little things, the little details that matter.
Yeah, the standing out with your offer, making it very creative, having your personal brand, and even just the relationships that you've built over the last couple of years and showing that you can perform. That's what's always stood out for me. We have some creative offers in comparison to the 20 different offers on the table for certain deals when they're on the market, but we have some awesome relationships now, even just with wholesalers that they will send it to us first. So just like you said, like once you build up that brand enough, we get deals on a regular basis as well, on a weekly basis that, we're not taking everyone, but there's certain deals that make sense. It is good. I love it. Certain learning curves as well. I made this mistake in the beginning on my first property. I wanted to almost just over remodel it. I got more personable into it. Have you ever had that experience? Like, for example, we had a 3-bedroom, 1-bath upstairs. Downstairs was all open, like 3 different big rooms and then the kitchen. And I wanted to make an extra bedroom and a bathroom in one of the big, rooms downstairs. And it wouldn't even necessarily fit with like the neighborhood, but I just got more emotionally attached to it. Have you ever had any of those?
Yeah, 2 key things. And I was actually thinking about it once, like, I was first answering, I was like, oh, duh. Like, one, making the Taj Mahal where it doesn't need to be and it's a rental property. Definitely did that on the first one. I mean, God, I don't like, just like top-notch granite, stuff like that, which, on an investment level is funny. But definitely that was like of the first thing. And then the second thing is doing work yourself.
Yeah.
I held myself back so much because I'm old school. My dad's an immigrant. We literally shoulder to shoulder, like did this whole apartment,
Love it.
The thought of paying someone was just not even a thing,
not
even a thing, and that mentality was so hard for me to get over my whole life. Even though it was like a degreed engineer, MBA, all that stuff, like I kind of was always like a hustler, salesman that decided to go down this hard route of college and career, and then now back to like where I belong. And doing work yourself is just, I tell everyone, and a lot of my, our sphere just like doesn't want to do that and, debate it, but you lose so much growth by focusing on the little things. That I break it down every time. It's simple. It's like, what is the hourly rate of, whatever trade it is? And even it's like, plumbing or HVAC or electrical. Those are skilled trades and they cost 75 to $100 an hour. But once you learn how to leverage your resources and make money in business, you're losing money. If I spend a whole day painting this room, I could have lost out on moving 2 contracts or getting something under agreement, or, even taking time to bid out another job and, save margin there. So, when you only have one deal, I get it. And you definitely need to like a rite of passage, I think, like to do 1 or 2 of them. But, once you do that, I really think you got to pump the brakes. And one thing too, I was getting harassed a little bit by my friends. Like I had a handyman come and unclog my sink at my own house, 6 months ago. And I have a snake in the basement, but I literally I was like, we need more handymen, and this is how you vet them. I want to find out for $100, not, 1,000. And with property management too, that was like the philosophical debate. Do you wait until you have 100 unit, 7-figure machine and hand it off to someone you don't know? Or do you start with 1 duplex and lose $100 a month? So right now, like paradigm shift, biggest mistake was keeping everything in house and the control. And I think starting small, even if it's your first flip, what do you really have to lose, like 10% margin or something by literally just taking the time, bidding out 3 to 5 contractors, figuring out who's who. And then now for the next one, you're able to speed through it. Where the first one, I literally just did it. Me and my dad and my friends, we just did it. And then what happened on the second one, you're starting from zero relationships to leverage other than sweat equity stuff. So that is key.
Man, I can't agree more with you. So many gold, so much dropping bombs right there. It's so good. I remember on one flip that it wasn't a flip. We were BRRRRing the property, but I got expensive bids from 3 different people over in Ohio when we're in San Diego, 3,000 miles away. This was stupid, but to paint the house. And I was like, I don't want to pay $13,000, $15,000 for painting a house. I was like, forget that. I'll do it myself. Right. And it was the stupidest thing I did. Me and my girlfriend like flew over, bought everything ourselves and started going to town. We didn't even get it all done in the full week's time frame because we're not professional painters, and,
right.
And we're bougie. We wanted to like take breaks left and right so we go get food and like, stupid stuff. And we still had to hire somebody afterwards to come back and finish it. But that whole week that I was out there, I didn't build any new relationships.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like that whole week, I could have even just spent a whole week at my place, like just making calls to find more relationships and get different bids. And it cost me time, but it cost me more money at the same time. And it's ridiculous. So very, very good. The only way to scale is to build those relationships and utilizing them at your own house instead of doing it yourself. That's the best. I love it.
Yeah. And I mean, just to dial that back a little bit too, I mean, it just depends what your goals are. I mean, if you're working full time, you want to do one flip a year, I mean, by all means, that is what it is. But, I think we're on a podcast because we're trying to like scale in 10X businesses. So if that's what you're trying to do, like I literally on principle, I brought all my tools to my office so I didn't have them at my house because I just get carried away and started building stuff. I literally got like a screwdriver, like an impact on like something very minor can go wrong and I'll fix it. That's about it.
That's so good. It's so important though. It really is. And just like you mentioned, like on this podcast, it's all geared towards educating people, motivating them and preparing them to take action. And when we say like prepare you to take action, we don't want you to do all the work yourself. We want you to get that financial freedom and the next levels to just financial breakthroughs for generational wealth at the end of the day. Like that's what I really see with each and every person that are listening for this. And, just like yourself, Dom, all the people that are on here are all next level, amazing people. So really appreciate you once again for jumping on. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up? I want to give you the chance to plug any of your contact info as well, but anything that you would want to leave with the listeners?
Yeah. So one last thing, we hear it a lot and it kind of bothers me a little bit, like social media on the take action stuff. People are just like, quit your job, dive in, all this stuff. And I just don't agree with that. I mean, when I did it, I literally was just doing 60, 70, 80-hour weeks for 3 years straight. And that's like, I always call it second shift, like hits 5 o'clock, second shift start. And like, those building blocks are fundamental to doing it right. Because when I left my job, I had literally replaced my salary with rental income, not even counting transactional income from the brokerage or being an agent or flips or new BRRRRs. So that didn't happen overnight. And that's like, hate to break it to everyone, it's not happening overnight and there's no secret to it. And like all these like lessons learned and jokes and stuff. I mean, you got to like actually after work, go paint a whole house until 2 a.m. and just have like a mental breakdown and think you're going broke. And like, that's the kind of stuff that really, no one really likes talking about the non-bougie aspect, but like I was ready to quit so many times and discouraged and scared and, first tenants like suing me and, discrimination claims. And you name it, the, therapy dogs that were fake dogs, maul the neighbor. I mean, I had all that happen on the first couple. One, because I took action and actually got into these properties and learned. And 2, that would never happen if I just took so much action, got rid of my job. And at the time, the job was the strong financials, had great salary, great credit score, great W-2. Like I was the
allows you to do the BRRRR strategy,
Right. And that's a key part too. So, I mean, you have to, I call it like engineering your exit strategy. Like you literally need to figure out what do you need to leave? And then how do you bridge that gap? Like I had like a certain unit count, a certain number I wanted, and then I literally just blacked out until I hit it. And then even now still like that salary every Friday, I look at my account, like something's wrong with my account because they forgot to wire me money. And then now I'm stressed. So going through that real time, adjusting to the not getting paid thing because everything's, redeployed, take action, but you have to be smart. Like with the climate now, you can't just like wing it because if you're trying to BRRRR, like you need banking relationships, you need strong financials, like you need all that stuff. You're not just going to go do this hard money deal and walk into the bank and think you're getting your money. You're going to go broke. Like that's kind of like, if you don't do it right, what could actually happen? And it's no joke because these are like, your credit is on the line, your savings are on the line, your reputation's on the line. So like you need to be methodical and that shouldn't ever be overlooked.
Yeah, that is so good. I couldn't agree more with you. I did the same exact thing. I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the day job, even in a restaurant business. Like I wasn't excited. I wanted to get out sooner than later as bad as possible, but I was able to leverage that W-2 for financials to be able to get and complete the BRRRR strategy. So I could do my cash out refinance and kind of like the rich dad, poor dad method of like waiting until your cash flow, your monthly cash flow actually exceeds your expenses. That's when I realized like the whole out of the rat race type of thing. Then it felt more comfortable preparing myself to leave. And I still didn't jump out right away. I still just kept on climbing up until I got so busy on my phone on a day-to-day basis that it was interrupting the work space. So I was like, hey, it isn't for me anymore. And that's when I could transition. And that's when, it was a snowball effect of many, many blessings. But like you said, like don't jump out too fast. You can work your face off, but have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, have that stability and have a game plan, like an actionable plan that you can be able to transition into this new phase. I think it's perfect. I love that.
Yep,
So
that's the unfortunate truth. It takes time and a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's not the overnight success like you see on Instagram or anything like that. Like it will take, several years, 5 years to really be able to build up some concrete foundation. But the cool part is, as long as we think it will take a very long time, if you work really hard at it, you can be surprised with how fast you can do it. Like you've done it within 3 years, roughly, right?
Yeah, 3 years. And, that's like the other thing too, is, the creative financing and like that kind of stuff, like all it takes is one of those. And you can literally put yourself 2 years ahead just if you're saving up 20% and deploying versus getting a zero down situation that you can re-leverage and then walk with money after buying something. Like that is like, it's so hard to do. You got to be direct to seller. You got to be able to sell that. And if you can, it's life-changing. Honestly, that second one I did, it changed my entire trajectory from, taking a decade to doing it in 3 years, honestly. So,
yeah. And that only comes when you're fully educated and confident on how to make that deal, structure that deal and make it work, understanding terms versus, the price and so forth, and really making it work. So kudos to you for putting in the hours and the time it took to get the education while still doing the daytime job, but having a bigger vision at the end of the day. And as long as you're taking action, like we talked about, it's like constantly getting out there and doing it, those opportunities will come your way. And that's when you can actually take action and reap the rewards, the benefits from it. So kudos to you, brother. I'm really excited just to see what the next few years look like for you. What does the future look like? Do you have any big goals moving forward? Anything that myself or any of the listeners could do to give back to you?
Honestly, just supporting our brand is the biggest thing. Our goals, our projections for next year, for example, are, being 20 plus flips, 40 plus wholesales, 20 plus new BRRRR units, and then 20 plus buy and holds. And just based on performance this year and the new resources we have. Our team went from me and my business partner and a part-time person to basically some remote part or full-time workers supporting like our bookkeeping and other like admin functions. And then 3 acquisitions people doing, probably 80 hours total together. And, this is like within the last 3 weeks. And it's like, we went from booking, our normal appointment book has tripled in the last 2 weeks. So like we're real time trying to figure out, now we got all these fish coming in, now we got to chop them up or whatever. So luckily we're positioned in the marketplace with some good relationships and resources that we're not going to let a dollar slip, but it is, exciting. So that's where we're hoping to be next year. And, right now I would just say if anyone wants to collaborate or work in the area where, we're huge on networking and, up and coming. So we want to see how we can provide value to other businesses and, create relationships where everyone can win. And, right now that's everyone we deal with, everyone wins. And that's the biggest thing, because there's a lot of people out there right now that are just out for one-off wins. And, we want to be around for a while. So we're not always taking like the best end of the deal. We're looking long-term.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, you're definitely in the growth phase right now, just grinding. So I'm very excited to hear what, that turns into in the next few months, 6 months, year down the road, which is awesome. So we'll definitely have to have you back on and follow up. But for all the listeners out there, how can they connect with you?
Me personally would be, via email is the best. So that's Dom, DOM at Naples-group.com. And then obviously if you go to Naples Home Buyers or Naples Realty Group, any social media website, whatever, all that's going to funnel to my business partner, Luke, and I. So, as long as you remember our brand name, you'll find us.
Love it. Cool. Well, you guys definitely want to reach out to Dom and show him some love. Dom, appreciate you being on here as always. A blessing. A lot of gold nuggets from you. So I know the listeners are definitely going to want to run this back and take some notes on it like I have. If you guys want to connect with me, you can always do so at Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, Facebook.com/Brandon Elliott Investor. If you're looking for credit repair done for you services, then you can check out creditrepairmobile.com. And then if you're looking to get educated, understanding how the lenders, banks, creditors are judging your credit, how to play the game, right? And be able to fix credit very quickly. I'm talking 24 hours up to 10 business days. Really be able to remove anything fairly quickly and get some awesome results, and then be able to boost up your score, do a mass apply, get several 6 figures in funding, even up to 7 figures in funding. And then the last step is actually being able to put it to work and leverage it, get into real estate. We've purchased properties with credit, complete all the remodels, hard money lending with credit, or even start up Walmart automation stores or Amazon stores and so forth, or just funding your business. Then you can check out and go to apply for the mastermind group at creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. And as always, would love some feedback on Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. You're hearing it first right here. Appreciate all the love as always. Hit that subscribe button so you get the newest notification every single Monday when the new episode is dropped and released. And leave a review. Let us know what you guys think about it. Share it out. Tag somebody in it that needs to see this. Appreciate all the love as always. Dom, you are the man. We will catch you guys next time. God bless.
Thanks so much.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.